in Ohio, we would have to start legislation from ground zero. There is literally
Nothing here.
no law on the books that affects lay midwives. They have the run of the road. And from what I've seen
I wonder if it's just because of the Amish community and like feeling like they're infringing.
Yeah, but the Amish is a weak excuse because I worked at a children's hospital. We saw Amish all the time.
Yeah, I've seen Amish at the hospitals too. I don't know.
I mean, there is no reason that they couldn't use certified nurse midwives or simply, but the thing about it is, as long as you, I don't know. There's a problem with the whole Amish thing because they like to do it, and if you do something that infringes on their way of life, they tend to get upset. But I think most of the time, Amish basically are used as a convenient excuse for people who don't want home births regulated in any way.
Do you guys have a lot of like country? Basically just a lot of nothing land. Like
Ohio is
where you go.
Yeah.
That's where you go. Okay.
Ohio's a real mixed bag.
Okay.
We lived out in a rural area, not deep rural. You'd probably have to go to southeastern Ohio for that. But, my mom gave birth at a community hospital, which was like half hour, 45 minutes away. And it's not rural. There's no real excuse to have a home birth. I mean, because I don't have a thing. Yeah, no, that's a small portion of the state that you could say literally that there's no services here. So I had to have a home birth. Everyone has a community hospital around them somewhere within a half-hour drive. And if you live in the country, you either have a horse and buggy or you have a car. You can't live without them. Sorry, guys. It just doesn't work that way. But we have 3 excellent pediatric hospitals, one in Cleveland, one in Columbus, one in Cincinnati. Oh, and there's one in Dayton too. I think is there one in
Children's in Akron is good.
Yeah. We have great hospitals all over the place.
You guys have a hospital, Miami Valley Hospital, that has a whole natural childbirth center within its walls.
That's down by Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's
Dayton.
That's Dayton, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they actually dedicated a whole space inside of a hospital birthing unit dedicated to natural birth if you wanted to go that experience, plus everything you need should things not go well anymore would be still right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's kind of something for some people to think about too, is, a lot of people do want that experience, or they feel like they wouldn't need the other interventions, but that seems like a safer way of doing that with all the bells and whistles right there. I know someone who gave birth there, so, and she did end up needing the bells and whistles for herself, but they just came right in. So kind of interesting that there's that dichotomy. They've got the natural childbirth center at the hospital, but they have these midwives who are like, we'll just deliver you at home. It's the way it's always been.
And I don't know. Bambi, do you remember how much you paid Brenda for your care?
I believe it was around $1,500 out of pocket.
That's actually a pretty reasonable rate for a birth.
Well, 13 years ago.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. That's from the prices I've been hearing recently, which is like the floors at $3,000. I'm not sure what it would be in Ohio. Probably $3,000 to $5,000 is pretty.
5,000 is about average. I want to say it's about average just because right now 15 is the lowest I've ever really heard, other than people that work off their stuff. I don't know if you know that. That's like a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Bambi might know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Where you do like childcare for the midwife, or you clean up areas, or you go to births and you help clean up, or you basically work off. So you only pay like a little bit out of pocket, but the rest is like, I think Marissa said people were giving like gas cards and gift cards or something like that. Wasn't
cards? Yeah. And
Yeah.
they were like, you
Yeah.
work on the birth center, we'll trade tools. Do you have jewelry that you would like to trade?
Yeah.
For the fee for birthing or for prenatal and birth care?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a
Yeah.
good way to get around the IRS.
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, remember I heard Lydia said, we don't get paid for using chickens or something like that, paid with chickens. And I was like, I had to think about that. And then like, I really thought right here in Vegas is, I know midwives that were literally doing just that. You were trading things, maybe items from your house, or trading services. You were helping clean up, go do stuff, cooking for family. You were doing stuff like as a trade. And I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of the same concept of like back in the day with the old villages where it'd be like, here, come to my birth, I'll give you a chicken. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, I didn't understand, but now I get it with the midwives.
I was listening to a podcast about Roy Cohn, who was notorious back in the day, and he his job, he one of his full-time jobs was not to pay taxes on anything, so he had his law firm pay his various bills of his, like, you know, the rent, so he didn't actually have to pull in an income that he could be taxed on. I was like, oh, if you don't get paid, you don't have to pay any taxes. I was like, yeah. So if you get paid in gas cards, the IRS isn't ever going to know about that. So yeah, no.
How we paid cash, I'm sure. Bambi, did you pay cash?
Yes.
Yeah, we paid
What
cash.
week did she want it by?
So
I do not remember, to tell you the truth, but I know we had it paid off.
Before the birth, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ours gave us a deal. We could pay it off by like 30 weeks or something like that. 30, 32, somewhere where you kind of have it paid off for your OB. Or we could pay cash right away and we save $500. So we save $500 paying cash because I have been saving for my baby. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, I still paid almost $5,000. So, I mean, imagine that. And I heard New York, this is just New York, the lady that does business to being born, that midwife, she charges like almost $14,000 a birth. And she does an average of 3 to 5 a month. Yeah, like imagine. So I just imagine she's a famous one, but I also think about, depending on where you are, if you're like in an upstate area, or if you're, you know, if you're more like town, depending on where you are, I'm sure that the prices probably change a little bit of, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think 7,000 for a birth out here at home, because a doula is about 1,000. Yeah, I needed to look on the website, but it's further out. It's down the highway, it's the foothills of the mountains, and it's about 7,000. And out here it's more because we're a little bit closer in, not by much. We do have horse and carriage out here. Occasionally I have to swerve around when I'm going up to Walmart. But you wouldn't believe it. People want that experience. We're kind of the in-between, because we're right by the area that's more like Bay Area prices, but we're just out of that. So we have the people who are pretty well off, but not quite, but they want that, they identify with it. So they're very aspirational. So they're having home births out here where it would take us, with traffic, probably 35 minutes to get to the hospital. There's a small hospital that has a nurse midwife center, but they would never take an emergency. They couldn't handle it. So even the hospital I went to, it's 25 minutes away if you hit traffic right. but these people have their home births and they pay a lot of money to set up a snack bar for their birth crew and have a photographer and another $1,000 for a doula. And it adds up. I know the doulas don't take bartering the same way the midwives will barter. Oh, you're, whatever. There was even someone who was like, oh, do you have a car you want to trade or something? I was thinking, really? Car because all this stuff has to be paid up by the time you're 35 weeks. So you could be paying out, you could be giving all this stuff away, and how do you get it back? If you have to transfer. I've never seen anyone talk about that, but I wonder sometimes you've done all this work or you've given tools, so they've gotten their payment. Do you get anything back? Inquiring minds want to know.
I think I've heard of exactly one person who got money back from their midwife for I don't remember if it was failure to show or not, but most people, once the midwives have your money, just consider it spent. It's never coming back. Bambi, question for you. Was Brenda a flat fee, or did you get nickeled and dimed for anything else?
Flat fee.
Flat fee. Okay, so she didn't say, oh, I need to have a birth assistant with me and you need to pay her.
Yeah. Nope.
What is it?
And I provided all my own birth supplies.
Oh, you had to buy a birth kit?
Oh, of course you have to buy a birth kit.
Oh, that's true. That was a dumb question. Sorry.
You have to buy your birth kit separately. They're separate. Okay, read the fine print.
I mean, that's generally the bare bones for a home birth is midwife fee and a birth kit. But some midwives are midwife fee, the birth kit, any supplements they want to sell you, any vitamins they want to sell you,
and your
others.
placenta
encapsulation.
But charge you to process it and give it back to you.
But then they'll be like, okay, I have to have a birth assistant with me. That's a separate fee, and you have to pay it. And they don't tell you that up front. And then I think there's a few more nickel and dime things that they do to you so that your original quote was probably 20% under 20. Well, that's probably being conservative, was at least 20% less than you were actually going to end up paying them.
Yeah. Well, do you need a photographer? Do you need to go to the chiropractor? Do you need to go get acupuncture? There's a list of things that they can send you to. If you do ultrasounds, you pay for ultrasounds, like any extras.
Lab work.
Yeah, if you do lab work. Did you end up, when you hired her, did you have to do like a contract or sign anything, like any paperwork from her?
No.
I'm surprised she actually had any kind of records or notes, to be honest.
Have I ever showed you the notes and records that we had?
No.
I think I did at one point.
I think I might have seen them.
Maybe you've seen. I didn't. I didn't see them.
I've seen what is on the blog. I've only seen what's on your blog.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah.
I would love to see
everything's
them,
all
and compare. Yes, that's what mine is too. Yeah. It's handwritten.
I would say,
and they're different too. Mine got different, same like you. Mine wrote things on the sides and on top, and a bunch of crap on there that I was like, what? But then stuff that had happened, ultrasounds and things or whatever, weren't on there at all. She said we went to one ultrasound. But she didn't tell them we went to 3. Yeah, she didn't tell them that. She said we only went to 1. And I was like, no, there was 3. And I have proof of all of it. I even have text messages from her talking about this. And they were like, oh, we didn't get that. And that's even what she told the doctor. We only went to 1. And I was like, no,
what a liar. Didn't she know? Because you would have had to pay for it. You would have had to sign something there.
Yeah, so, I did. I had to pay for it. I got my little receipt. And yeah.
Basically,
but that's what they do. They try to cover, because the main thing is if they can cover with your hospital, with the doctor, if they can cover right in there, the doctor's not going to report them. That's what I've learned the most of whatever, even though our state doesn't have laws, mine's just like you guys. We're the same state. It sounds like we're like talking about the same stuff. Is I did learn that if we had gone to another hospital maybe not Centennial, maybe Summerlin or Spring Valley. We had gone to some other hospital on the way, which you pass hospitals on the way. If we went to one of them, other doctors could have reported her. Even though she was not of medical, they could have still reported her to get her investigated through the state, which is one of the things that I had heard from a lot of nurse midwives. They kept saying, even though they're not nurse midwives, a hospital can still report them, so there's paperwork on them, and the doctors, and there is a lot of people that push and tell doctors, report them, because if they report them and it goes off and, you know, in our reporting system of our state, people will see this is actually happening and this is a problem. Because that's the other thing you guys are talking about, the pediatricians, they are seeing the terrible crap happening. And right now, because we've had COVID, my state, the OBs are tired. And the NICUs are tired of seeing the babies coming in and they're trying to save them and it's all last minute and all this stuff. It's all preventable. And the doctors are finally, after all these years, getting together to say, we're tired of this and we don't want to deal with this anymore. So they need to be licensed because we need to do something about it for families. That's their big thing, is because this is their job. This is their career. They spent their life doing this. And now here comes them where they're like, why couldn't I taken care of you? And that's even what the medical society and all the ones here, the OBs all said to me, I will take you. You want a natural birth? You don't want to get induced? You don't want meds? I will totally take you at the hospital and monitor you. And if stuff goes wrong, I will save you. Like, I will do it. But please don't have your baby at home. And so there's a big thing going on right here in Nevada, because we're seeing what I got from numbers, from figures from the coroner's report that has to do with the medical board, for at least over a year now, we're seeing an average of 2 babies a month dead from home birth. We have no birth centers here, not one birth center at all in here. We have one that's supposedly here, but it's supposedly still opening because it's a nurse midwife that got booted from all the hospitals in Vegas, and she started a birth center. It looks like a little trailer out like in the ghetto. It really is. It's not a very good area of town because it's probably cheap. And she uses that as a front to call it like a birth boutique kind of thing. Look at this birth center. It's the only one ran by nurse midwives. There is none in our state. It's not approved. It's not certified. And she's the only nurse midwife. The rest are CPMs, doulas, and students. And from what I've heard from people here, you go off to, I want to go check out the birth center. She uses it as a front and then convinces you to have a home birth, because the reality is it's not open and she doesn't have the paperwork to do births at the birth center, because it has to be approved by the state for you to do that. If you're in your own personal home, that's fine, but that's like a business. You can't just be popping out babies at a business. That's when you guys are talking about stuff. I know it's so similar to what's going on here. And it sucks because it's like, how can the system change if nobody even knows that we're happening? If the criminal side won't take it because we don't have any laws, and then the civil side won't take it because there's no money out of it. You know, so it's like we're stuck in between, where does this go? And it's like, as much as it's like the system has failed us, it's only doing what it can do because it takes a lot to put laws in. And that's why I asked Bambi, I was like, did you sign a contract? Because it's like, I did a contract, which mine was garbage anyways. It didn't matter. Mine, by the way, said if I transferred to a hospital, she would give back at least 50% of what we paid her. It's in my contract. I transferred to a hospital. We didn't get a dime. Not one freaking penny.
Got a question for you.
Yes.
Here's a question. So you were told that it was basically negligent homicide?
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. If you had been responsible for what happened as a parent, would the law have gone after you? Or at
Probably.
least Family Protective Services?
That's what they do. But she was able to get away with it.
So she's a midwife, therefore...
because they're illegal in this state.
Yeah, but just if you had done it if it happened under your care, it would be your responsibility. It happened under her care, but since she's basically a non-parent and a midwife, whatever that means, they couldn't go after her. Well, I can't say you couldn't go after her, but basically, like I said, the problem The problem with charging a midwife with anything is the fact that there's no loss for it, and you would have to do it from scratch. And the only way you would ever get good at charging midwives with negligence or anything would be to essentially go after midwives and charge them to hold them responsible, which would look like a witch hunt, but actually it would just be practice to get to figure out how to make it work. And nobody would like, and the midwives wouldn't like that. But, you know, if they're unregulated, there is no other venue. You really can't hold them responsible for anything without laws, which would be a problem if they did not lie and
manipulate.
Oh, the lying. I can't. I really am the kind of person who wants to know what the truth is and wants to know what the facts are. And so the whole midwife lying thing is something I will never forgive them for ever.
Yeah.
There's no reason to lie to someone unless you are deliberately trying to mislead them.
There shouldn't have to be a whole book about how to do that either.
Get all your friends together and go to the state house and tell them how much you love this midwife and how they shouldn't pay any attention to the dead babies.
Yep.
That should not be what a profession is built on.
You shouldn't have to explain how to have a fundraiser to defend someone who's injured and killed babies and their parents.